preparing a PowerPoint? What does it matter? Find me another gig, okay? Because I know you guys really want to hear what I have to say. And I'm going to look very studious. I'm going to put my glasses on. But the first slide was a fun slide for you to see because I speak a lot about metamorphosis, that we're all really caterpillars that become chrysalis, that become butterflies. And it's kind of cool to think of ourselves as butterflies.
Microphone.
You can't hear me on the lavalier?
Not very well.
Really?
Very well here. Yes, maybe
Okay.
go strong.
We can do that. Shall I unplug this and use the microphone? Test. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Is that a little better? You'll probably hear me in stereo. The first slide was a picture of me as a very young girl guest starring on Star Trek, wearing my red yeoman's uniform. The red shirts always died, but Gene Roddenberry let me live. It was really fun for me to be on Star Trek because I was a liberated woman in 1967. I carried a phaser and a tricorder, and I threw the bad guys over my shoulder. I wasn't bringing coffee to anybody. I was a full-fledged, liberated member of the crew. Hi, Deborah. No PowerPoint, so we're going to paint pictures with words. Welcome. So the first slide was going to introduce my days as an actress and then me now. So we're not going to have that. Oh, gosh, we're not going to have much of. All right, wait a minute. There we go. And how do I make this go? Okay. All right. The presentation today is called The Conscious Creation of a New Life. And the conscious creation of a new life can begin on a microcosmic level, right down to the very cell, the very nucleus, the nanoparticle in our bodies, and it can go out to the entire multiverse, the entire universe. And the conscious creation, where's my beautiful Stephanie? Where is Stephanie? My little beautiful pregnant, there she is. Stephanie, right? There's Stephanie. The conscious creation of a new life, if Stephanie won't be too embarrassed, Stephanie is the most important person in this room because she's 5 months pregnant. And we're going to help, actually, very actively, to consciously create a new life. So the conscious creation of a new life requires sacred partnership. And sacred partnership is always based on equality, yes, between men and women, but between all the genders. We have to accept all the genders and all of the gendering and respect all the ways we form partnerships. So whatever your choice is in forming a partnership, it's critically important that we realize that it's going to take more than a village. It starts with two. It could be you and your cat. It could be you and your dog. It could be you and your best friend. We really need to come together in unity to start to feel the oneness of our conscious creation. So everyone right now, everyone in this room is being at effect to Stephanie. So send baby Stephanie, because it's a little girl, send her some powerful love. Well, all you beautiful people that are, if you're at this conference, you have a very high consciousness and a very high vibration. So you all know what I'm talking about. And we're going to talk a little bit more about it. If we don't just embarrass Stephanie in tears over there. And I had a beautiful, my husband, Nazim Artist, is a brilliant artist. And I had beautiful slides of his art with some of the things I'm sharing with you. Oh my goodness,
There's a
miracle of miracles. And you're kind of, so there she is, then and now. Here is the Ascension Rising painting. And so you can kind of see from the visual what I'm talking about with these sacred partnerships. In whatever gendering you express it, substitute your cat, your dog, the love of your life, however you express your ascension rising, welcome to co-creating a new humanity. Forgive me if I cry. Okay, so healing requires, gentlemen, an end to patriarchy. Now that doesn't mean we're making men obsolete. We love you dearly. Your divine masculine is sacred. But we have to put an end to oppression, domination, and we have to install into our hardware a new set of belief systems so that we can allow this loving partnership that I'm talking about, however you wish to express it, to be expressed. And this is a perfect dynamic for the male-female dynamic. And if we don't choose to do what Stephanie and her beloved are doing, or if we've already had our babies, or we consciously chose to not have babies, to have animals, to work with humanity, whatever we're doing, we need to come together and join our, not just join our genes, we can join our genius to co-create a new age. Does that make sense? Does that resonate? Mm-hmm. Now, in the room, I have some VIPs. There he is. This is our beautiful, loving gift of love to every person on the planet. This is our 90-minute documentary called Femme, Women Healing the World. And when we leave here, shortly after they let us wrap, between 2 and 3:30 in the Bel Air room, we're going to be screening Femme for you. Our brilliant, divine, masculine Emmanuel ETA is standing next to my husband. And Dawn Zoe, she's here, she's one of the producers. And who else? I have my beautiful Karen Tate, my sister. Brilliant, brilliant people in the film. Who have I missed? Who isn't here? Anyway, we invite you to come to our screening, and then there's an award presentation. We don't know what we're getting yet, but we have an award presentation. Is Marianne coming to accept? We have Marianne Williamson coming to and accept an award for her participation in the film. I won't give away too much about this, but I want to plug that between 2:30 and 3, then the awards are at 4:30 to 5:30, and my divine sisters, Karen, Silmara, Jerry Castronova, we're doing the Emergent Feminine panel, which will be on Sunday between 2:30 to 4:30. Don't let us scare you guys, we're going to talk about you. In front of you or behind you. Okay, we're going to move along. Today there is a new science called epigenetics, or epigenetic control. How many people are familiar with epigenetics and epigenetic control? And we have sound effects too. How beautiful, technology. Epigenetics teaches us that we are not just our genes. I want you from this moment on to think of your genome as a blueprint. And a blueprint doesn't build a building all by itself. It takes an architect. And you are the architect of your life. Epigenetics is the expression of epigenetics is how our genes are expressed. And this is controlled by our environment. And our environment includes the immediate area around us and around our beautiful unborn baby. It includes that environment. And all of this makes us who we are. We can't change the fact that I have blue eyes and perhaps you have brown or green or hazel eyes, but it's our experiences that alter the expression of our genes without necessarily changing our DNA. So let's take a peek right now inside Stephanie's room. And one of the things, they don't know how much I paid her to come here today. One of the things that I share in our beautiful film, Femme, is that a mother's every thought and every action is programming her body's genes epigenetically And everything she experiences is being downloaded right now. All that we're experiencing, all that she's experiencing is being downloaded into that fetal tissue. And for 9 months, the mother and this beautiful baby girl, they are existing in absolute unity. And everything that we're doing and thinking is at effect to the future of this unborn child. That's an amazing power, isn't it? That's just an amazing, powerful feeling. So you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about consciously creating a new life. So let's cut to, for just a moment, we obviously can see how we can help Stephanie and how Stephanie can consciously create this beautiful baby girl and how her divine husband can shield her from the outside influences, because if she's stressed, those stress hormones will actually cause the hindbrain to develop rather than the frontal conscious, the frontal cortex. So it's imperative that we keep her stress-free and that we love her. And this baby will have this amazing consciousness. So we're helping all of this at this moment. So mom and dad are actually able to reduce the intelligence of a child by up to 50% by environmental stressors. And as Annie Murphy, the author of the Origins book, says, some of the most important learning we ever do happens before we're born. Let's talk just a moment about belief systems. Everyone in this room has a belief system. You believe you are who you are. You believe in a particular religion. You believe in veganism. You believe in chemtrails. You believe you are. You actually believe you're sitting in this room. But guess what? 50% of your belief systems and 50% of your personality was downloaded into your fetal tissue before you had a conscious mind. So that's why having an open mind is a very important factor today, because we only think and believe in what we were programmed to believe before we became conscious. And jump cut, that didn't take place till we were about 6 years old. I have a wonderful honor that I'm just touched beyond belief to be a part of, and that's to serve as the ambassador to the Global Prenatal Initiative. And through the Global Prenatal Initiative and through these cognitions that you may already know, or I may be embellishing in some way or sharing with you for the first time, we can heal the world. And that's the message that I impart in FEM, is that we all can heal the world, and it's time to wake up and wake up everyone around us. We are not what we look like. We have young girls obsessed with body image. We have mature women obsessed with body image and how they look. We are not who and what we look like. We have to be conscious of who we are and what we stand for, and stand in our square. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. It's okay to say amen or amen every now and then. And my beautiful VIP, Julie Gerland, is here somewhere. She raises a hand. There is wonderful Julie and her beautiful divine sacred husband, Francois. They live in the south of France, in the beautiful Rennes-le-Château area, where we all know where it started. They're wonderful, wonderful, glorious people. So Julie is the head of the organization, the Global Prenatal Initiative. Back at our M15 booth, we'll tell you more about that. But our crusade is, Stephanie, 9 months to heal the world. Now that's an understatement, because it's very important before conception takes place for the male sperm to be as healthy as it can be, for the female ovum to be as healthy as it can be, and the life force and support systems. Did you know that the sperm is the smallest cell in the body, and the ovum is the largest cell in the body? If we have time, we'll talk about that a little bit. But here's Julie, and a beautiful quote from Julie. and we're going to try to just move on a little bit. So as I'm saying, in order to create this conscious new life, we really need, and I hope we have time to cover what I'm going to share with you now, some 45,000 years of not history, of not her story, but our story on this planet, because we have what I like to call epigenetic memes. Does everyone know what I'm talking about when I say the word meme?
Yeah.
A meme is like a stored negative little time bomb within our bodies. It's our little complexes, it's our fear of spiders. So we store these memes in our subconscious, and maybe even past lifetimes. Epigenetics offers a really cool way to think about past lifetimes as well. So new research has shown that it's possible for some information to be inherited, information inherited biologically through chemical changes that occur in DNA. Isn't that powerful? These senses that we all have, these deja vu senses, this memory of all the women and men that came before us in our ancestral line is still part of us. So call it a past life, call it an epigenetic experience, it's there. Epigenetic belief systems are really interesting because, like I said, they have been implanted within us before we had control in our creative mind. Our subconscious mind is really interesting. When the baby is in the womb, right now baby Stephanie is floating in a state of delta. That frequency is akin to a hypnagogic trance, a hypnotic trance. So in the state of delta, the baby is a wide open tape recorder, tape recording every experience around it. Now realize that with this tape recording going on, the conscious mind isn't developed yet. So there's no control over what's going into that baby. So if I say something terrible like, oh, I just feel like I could die, my head hurts, I just feel like I could die. All that baby hears is, you know what. So we have to remember that our words and our thoughts have power, because together we are consciously creating a new life within us and all around us. It's powerful stuff. We're not passive beings that aren't important on this planet. We're powerfully important. The flutter of a butterfly's wings in the Amazon rainforest is causing an effect in Asia. So remember every word. You have to stay conscious and check yourself, because I'm going to show you where those negative reactions come from. Those who have studied hypnosis know very well about theory of mind. And the numbers are pushing a bit at the moment. 88% of our subconscious, that's that wide open tape recorder, that's downloading everything without being able to reason, could even be as high as 95% right now. And the conscious part of our mind is 5%. So as you see the little lights lighting up, the love of chocolate cake, yum. The fear of snakes, whew. These are stored in our subconscious, so the next time you snap at your beloved, that was a subconscious meme. That could have been your mother, your father, snapping at someone in your family. It's beyond your control because it was downloaded before you were born. Is this making some good sense to everyone? Now, we're not totally helpless here. A lot of people make you feel that you're totally helpless because there's these programs that were implanted in us before we had a choice. So the child's personality, the unborn child's personality, is 50% formed, belief systems, the later stages before birth, and then actually at birth, your baby is now moving into theta. During theta, the baby can talk to animals. The baby doesn't see fat or thin or color or religion. The baby just sees, it's just wonderland. Theta is an amazing, our beautiful Silmara Barudi is here, who's on our panel tomorrow. She's a Theta healer, so she's very, very well versed. Turn around and wave to beautiful, my goddess sister, my beautiful Silmara. But we're not totally helpless. There are some great tools where you can access these memes that are stuck in your subconscious, and EFT is a brilliant way. We can talk about that back at the booth, hypnosis, the release technique. There are ways to access this information and override it. But what's so crazy is that since these belief systems were stuck in there, you wonder, well, I'm a very positive person today. Everybody say with me, I'm a very positive, powerful person today. Why am I not a millionaire? Well, it wasn't your fault either. And I'll tell you why. If you were lucky enough to have a parent, it's not that you don't deserve what the universe is there to offer you, but if your early parenting said win-win things, you're beautiful and I love you and you can be anything you want to be every day of your life, you could have become one of those kids in school that sloughed off. And you'd be sitting next to this person and they would be getting the honors and the awards. You go, what is this? It's that belief system. That child got that belief system. So do you see how powerful we are as parents or sitting next to a potential parent? I told Stephanie's husband yesterday, your job is to every 5 minutes tell Stephanie and her baby, you're beautiful, I love you, and you can be anything you want to be. Simple as that. If we had that growing up, then we can walk on water today. So the very things that we struggle with are there not because the universe doesn't want us to have them, but because we inherited programs of limitation. But we can correct the programming in our life and attempt to rebuild or overwrite that subconscious to stop struggling with so many of these things. And you know that they're there if you struggle with them. So if you're struggling with them, those are the areas that need to be expanded and worked on with hypnosis, Sedona, EFT. Change your mind, change your life. And when I say change your mind, I mean change your conscious mind. And just watch those snappy little moments that you think to yourself. I have a cute story about my husband. My husband, when I get angry at him, he will fall on the floor laughing. It is really difficult to enjoy your goddess tirade when your beloved is falling on the floor laughing. One day I got it. I said, I know. Your mother would get really upset with your father, and he fell on the floor and laughed. He goes, you got it. You got it. I was raised that way. So I have the benefit of this beautiful meme that I can't stay angry at him for more than 5 minutes, because when you see somebody rolling on the floor in total laughter, you just go, oh, I feel father. Do whatever you want. So our subconscious mind holds all these wonderful good things. I've mentioned to you that if you got all that when you were young, it's there in your subconscious. But everybody can say right now with me, I'm beautiful.
I'm beautiful.
I'm loved. I love myself. And I can be and do whatever I want.
And I can be and do whatever I want.
I love it. Yes, yes. So, I think you guys are getting the picture that we have centuries, if not thousands of years behind us, of epigenetics that have been passed into our cells. So we have these memories in our subconscious, our collective subconscious. We have this wisdom, and if we pay attention to it, we start to recognize the voice of our heart. which is far more powerful than our brain. Now, I've introduced you to my husband, and I just take one quick little commercial so that when we get into our holistic paradigm and we want ourselves to be as healthy as we can, our newborn babies to be as healthy, our sperm to be as healthy, please come back to our booth so that we can share with you at the Art of Wellness Collection what my husband and I are doing with regard to our holistic paradigm. So here we go. We're going to get into the good stuff. But can anybody have a clock so we can see how far into this I am? A watch?
15 more minutes.
12:30.
We're going to cover about 45,000 years in rapid time, but we can do it. This is my dear friend's work, whose name is Julia Stonehouse, Father's Seed, Mother's Sorrow. And it's called reproduction theory. It's the seed theories. And every one of us at some point in our life, and everyone we've ever known, have said, where do babies come from? And whatever answer you got to that question became your belief system as to where babies came from. Today, we take it for granted that there's a perfect partnership and union between that little smallest cell in the body, the sperm. The paternal DNA is in the head of the sperm. The mitochondrial DNA is forced to the tail of the sperm. It's entering the largest cell of the body, the ovum, and we know today that we have a 50-50 partnership. 23 chromosomes from the female and 23 chromosomes from the male. But we didn't always know that. The notion that there's two seeds was not always the case. The idea that the human seed of life comes from the testicles of men was an absolute fact of life between 3000 BC and 1900 AD. And just in case I don't get a chance to finish all these slides, I'm going to give you age 1. Reproduction age 1 of the single seed, female seed theory. Everything before 10,000 BC, the seed of life was in the woman. It didn't take a rocket scientist to know that a little hanky-panky went on, and 9 months later, a baby came through the woman. And the baby and the mother clearly knew who its parent was. She was feminine. And this beautiful goddess, in this beautiful time period, was revered and worshipped and adored. But never was there a matriarchy. The opposite of patriarchy is not matriarchy. The opposite was a matrilinear society. In other words, inheritance went through the female line. When a couple enjoined, the male moved in with the female. There was no ownership of the person because the child was of the mother's seed. And this beautiful theory lasted through the Paleolithic. These handprints that they thought for years, all this artwork, that they thought this was all done by men, this was done 75% by women in the Paleolithic period when the goddess was revered. Here's a beautiful quote from my goddess sister, Karen Tate. Scholars will tell you, you can look back at some of these ancient artifacts, like the Venus of Willendorf. They're 30 to 40,000 years old. And many scholars today will tell you that they believe that these artifacts paint to a time when goddess was revered, where women were also more uplifted in society. They were the givers of life. They were something magical, something powerful. So there is no evidence during any of these matrilinear times prior to 3000 BC of women oppressing and dominating men. That was not done. So that's why I say that there was not a matriarchy as we know of the model of patriarchy. That occurred with the domination of women, and I'll tell you why. So here, this is a great artifact. This actually shows that in ancient times they knew the seed of life was in the female. So, but between 10,000 BC and 3000 BC, the guys, the dudes, got the idea as we went into farming and animal husbandry and agriculture. The guys thought, well, I think we're doing a little more here than watering the seed. Somebody must have thought no ram, no lamb at some point in time. But just before this happened, what do you see when you see this? Tell me what you see, come on. We got the head of a phallus and the body of a female. So these people, these Paleolithic, Neolithic, this comes from Cyprus. We have huge civilizations, 6,500 to 5,000 BC in Çatalhöyük that predate the Egyptians. That's in Anatolia. These were all goddess worshiping, goddess revering, egalitarian, equalitarian societies where there was no oppression. It wasn't perfect, but I think it sure beats the heck out of war, domination, oppression, rape, and pillage, don't you? So there's much we can learn from this time period, and there are these clues in the art that's left behind that we had an egalitarian society. Again, this is from Çatalhöyük, telling us the seed is in the woman. And here's a good glimpse at when you can see the couple on the left look like they're making love, and then right back to back is the mother and the child. So we know that they knew where babies came from. Now if we cut to the Sumerian god Enki, the irrigation god, we're really starting to see during this time period, around 3000 BC, no ram, no lamb. So everything flipped, everything turned on its head. We had a single seed theory before 3000 BC. It was in the woman. Man got the notion, he watered the seed. But around 3000 BC, as the Indo-Europeans moved in and these goddess-worshipping societies were a pushover for these brutal, violent, patriarchal people, and they got the notion that the seed was in the male. So we have 100% male dominance with the seed, 0% with the woman, and man had to control his means of reproduction. Are you starting to see why there is still female circumcision, why there are veils, why men in certain countries confiscate passports, why women took men's names? You can start to see that in order to know who the father of his baby was, he had to control and dominate his woman. It was so bad that if you educated a woman, it might weaken her to such a degree that she might have a female baby. And female babies were really worthless. We have remnants of this 5,000 years of patriarchy ingrained into our memes, in our subconscious. And it lives with us today. It's getting better. The paradigm is shifting, but we didn't know about the two-seed theory until 1900 AD. 1900! Can you imagine? We only got the vote in 1920. In 1900, it was discovered with some very courageous embryologists that there were two seeds. But you can imagine how hard it was to know that. I mean, you have to go up the vagina, in through the uterus, out through a fallopian tube, over there on each side, there's an ovary. Inside the ovary, there are these little tiny eggs. Inside the egg, there's a nucleus. Who knew? They didn't know. They actually started to learn about this and discover it from pea flowers. It made sense in pea flowers, but what man wanted to give up his dominance? He wanted his woman home in the kitchen. And it's far worse in many parts of the world. As you know, there's abortions in India and all over the world if you're carrying a female child. Baby girls were destroyed at birth in China. I call this an epigenetic hangover. And we girls, we ladies, we women, we have to forgive them. If they try to dominate us, if we're making 77 cents to their dollar, if there's this epigenetic hangover all over the world in places, if your husband gets a little too pushy, you have to stand in your square, forgive them for this improper bit of science. They had it wrong. And guess what? It was not until 19 1960 that we had the photographic proof that the seed was actually, I'm going to show you that seed. This is Landrum Shevels. Just whoever's back there counting time, know that I got a very late start. Okay, the people before us. How many people want me to go over a little bit? Okay, there's the photographic proof. So, don't you love this? If you can see my little cartoon. There are two parents. We're 50-50 partners. We forgive you, but we still have an epigenetic hangover. So we are not what we look like. We wielded a sword. We had babies. We ran countries and nations. We're not just fertility goddesses, right, Karen? We did it all. We were buried with our swords. We are whole people, not just baby-making machines. So today we need balance. We need yin and yang. It's 100% equal. But you know the truth of what I'm talking about if you watch Downton Abbey, because you see that inheritance not going to the daughter. In the Abrahamic religions today, they're continuing this father rule paradigm because, again, for 5,000 years, the creative ability to produce life was ordained by God himself. There's no mention of the goddess. How can there be a god without a goddess? I'm sorry. There cannot be. The whole model is set up here on earth for a male-female partnership. So the next time you say, oh my God, would you please say, oh my God and goddess at least, so that we can release this epigenetic hangover? God didn't create man in his image. Anybody that's ever watched an animal give birth or you had birth yourself, we know who the goddess is. We know who the creatrix of life is. And it's time to stand it on its head. So I'm prepared to take on the Abrahamic religions. I'm tired of women just being the canvas that men painted on. So did you know that even in ancient Greece, which was kind of the high point of this male seed theory, even Aristotle thought that we just had the nourishment for the baby, not the seed of life. They actually thought that the male and the female were two different species, and they had names in Greek. We were lesser beings because, let's get racy here, we were the penetrated instead of the penetrator. Forgive them, the sword in the sheath. Now, look what they found in Israel. Say hello to Mr. and Mrs. God. Even though they crushed the female idols and they converted the goddess cultures to Mecca, it was a goddess culture, and now it's an Abrahamic faith. Everywhere you look, God became a man, and they went back and they erased our presence. But these two little people meet Yahweh and Asherah, because even Yahweh had a Mrs. God. And God help him if he messed with her. So what if we stood this paradigm on its you-know-what, and we said, and the goddess created man and woman in her image? How would we have been treated for the last 5,000 years? Even in the Chinese mythology, the creatrix goddess was Nuwa. So, hello, Mr. Pope. I think it's high time for equal status for women because the very nature of priestcraft is feminine. And we cannot fly without two wings. Read this quote from the Baha'i faith. We need two wings to go aloft. So it's really the time now to start listening to nature, to listening to Mother Nature, become the co-creators of a new humanity. Next time you say, oh my God, or oh my goddess, stop and think. You are the God and goddess of 90 trillion cells in your body and billions and trillions of life forms. Can you hear your liver say, oh God, please make me feel better? Can you hear those liver cells? Are you paying attention to your inner terrain, as above, so below? If we don't pay attention holistically to our inner terrain, how can we expect this universe to hear our prayers? We need to listen to our inner prayers. Our bodies, our subconscious, our conscious mind are begging us to turn inward and listen to the prayers of our body. And we can really begin to consciously co-create this new life. This is a wonderful Valentine present from my husband, Nazim Artist. This is the love horse. This is the year to my beloved Chinese friends and Asian friends. This is the year of the Yang wood horse. We have ultimate possibilities. And this wonderful divine painting is called Femme, Women Healing the World. And in the room with me right this moment are Jackie and Iana. We want to talk to you for one quick second about our next 5 films, because you're all going to want to jump on our bandwagon when you see Femme. We have 5 more conscious films to produce that will wake up the planet, and it's called the Universalis Collection. So if you know the big money people, please get them to Jackie and Iana so we can continue our work. And stop by the booth and see my new books. And this is how you can reach us. And wow, we covered 100,000 years in less than an hour.